Because if you'll think back to when we were kids in the 80s and the 90s, as soon as the air turned a little bit cooler and you first started noticing the crunch of leaves underfoot as you were walking home from school, the store aisles were starting to transform into pure Halloween magic. Hey everyone, my name is Perry, and welcome back to the Cassette Phase. So I hope that you've all had a good week. For today's video, I thought it might be fun to talk a little bit about some of the awesome retro Halloween-inspired merchandise that's out there in various places right now. Because as you all know, I'm a big fan of Halloween and this time of year in general. So when these companies roll out retro products that are both nostalgic and Halloween themed, I'm usually pretty interested. So I've got a few items on hand here in the den, which I will take you over to the ottoman and show you those up close. But there are some other things too that I don't actually have that I think will still be a lot of fun to talk about. And of course, we'll start off the video with today's time capsule, as always. But I think you're going to see some really cool, fun, nostalgic Halloween stuff here on the channel today. Sound like fun to you? Come hang out. Okay everyone, welcome back to the Ottoman, and welcome back to another great day here in the den. For today's background noise, I've got the movie Little Monsters playing over on the CRT. Such a fun movie for this time of year. If you haven't seen that one in a while, highly recommended. You know, Fred Savage at the peak of his popularity. For today's time capsule, I thought about doing something Halloween themed, but I was like, no, the videos are going to be pretty heavily, leaning into Halloween over the next few weeks. So today's time capsule episodes won't always be that, aligned with that theme. I think we want to keep it mixed up a little bit if we can. So a few videos back, when I went on my estate sale adventures and I brought you guys along, I talked to you about a picture frame that I had picked up and what I had planned on doing with it. I found a really cheap old vintage 90s wood grain picture frame, and I knew exactly what I wanted to use it for. And it was for a Simpsons tray liner, believe it or not. So think back for a minute, if you will. 1990, the Simpsons are just entering the peak of their popularity. They were getting huge at the time. It was still really early in their run. I think that would have been season 2 or 3 at that point. But Burger King had done a little promo with them with some dolls and some figures, and a really kind of funny old commercial that I'm probably going to put in right here so we can see it.
I hope you realize that playing with guns is an obvious cover-up for your male inadequacies.
Yeah? Well, why would anyone play with dolls?
Why would anyone play with you?
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 Why would anyone play with any of you?
Beats us, but Burger King's got 'em. The Simpsons for $3.49 each when you buy new mini muffins or any size fries. To give you the Simpsons for virtually peanuts, sometimes you gotta break the rules.
But yeah, you just have to know, and I don't remember exactly, it's a little fuzzy at this point, but you just have to know that back then, Burger King was rolling out all the stops, because it was them who was, had the Simpsons promo going, which was like the most popular show on TV. It wasn't McDonald's, it wasn't Wendy's or Hardee's or Taco Bell, it was Burger King. So, their restaurants probably had all kinds of cool stuff on the walls and hanging from the ceilings and just promoting the heck out of the Simpsons. I need to go down the eBay rabbit hole one day and see if I can't find some old signage or something to go along with this tray liner that I had framed, because I'm just that weird of a person. It was almost a perfect fit too. I had to trim it just like slightly on each side, but it was a perfect height. And this is just that really thin, like newspaper print material. You know, found that at an estate sale, it would have probably wound up in the trash. And now I'm going to take it and hang it in my garage, somewhere out of the sun so it doesn't fade. But yeah, like I said, you get your food on a tray. You know, your fries, your sandwich, your drinkers all sitting there, and underneath all that is a tray liner that's promoting, you know, whatever they've got going on at the time. And this says, good drink, good meat, come on, let's eat. Couple funny little things about this that I noticed. So, how was your visit? Call 1-800-YES 1-800 to give your comments. What a great phone number. I should call that and see if it's still active. And then you just got your, you know, little fine print. But again, I realize that this is another situation of one man's trash is another man's treasure, that this would have wound up in the trash can probably. But instead, it's framed in a vintage wood grain frame to be hung in my garage, probably for the rest of my existence, because you guys know I'm a big Simpsons fan. It's like the one toy line that I still actively collect up there on that shelf there. And so I just had to grab this when I saw it, and I thought it would make a good entry in today's time capsule. So this video is, of course, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but I just wanted to share some merchandise and some various products with you guys that got me really excited for this awesome time of year. Because if you'll think back to when we were kids in the 80s and the 90s, as soon as the air turned a little bit cooler and you first started noticing the crunch of leaves underfoot as you were walking home from school, the store aisles were starting to transform into pure Halloween magic. Brightly colored costumes in plastic bags featuring our favorite cartoon characters, glow-in-the-dark everything, and those cheap rubber masks that smelled like burnt balloons for whatever reason. We loved all of it. The various merchandise and Halloween versions of everyday products that you would see in your local stores, along with all of the pumpkins and the hay bales and all kinds of decorations. That all added to the experience for us. Well, fast forward to today, and some companies are trying to capture a little bit of that magic through their product offerings, and of course, capture a little bit of our hard-earned money as well. And as adults, we can tap into a little bit of that nostalgia when we see some of this stuff, even if we don't buy a single thing. So let's dig into just a small sampling of this year's merchandise that'll have us feeling like we're right back in our childhood bedrooms, watching monster movies and eating candy from a pillowcase. Okay, so the first product that I want to talk to you all about are these amazing Ben Cooper Halloween costume action figures from NECA. Now, these have been around a little while. I've talked about them in previous videos. I think we first started seeing these around last Halloween with some of the more general, like Universal Monster style costumes. But I'm looking at their website right now, and there's a bunch of different options this year, several of which I'm really excited about. And as I'm talking through these products, guys, I'm going to be sure to show pictures and things on the screen. And if I can find pricing and things like that, I'll share that as well. But I really just wanted to talk about these figures for a minute because there are some awesome ones here. And it looks like they've got them grouped in kind of like categories, I guess. Like you've got a Dungeons and Dragons set, which are pretty cool. You've got like a horror movie, like a set with Pennywise and Michael Myers and some others there. But then there's this grouping that I'm really excited about here, where they have Pee Wee Herman, Garfield, looks like the Predator for some reason. And then my favorite, the one that I'm most excited about, Alf. The Alf figure is awesome. And some of the promotional photos that they used to put these things together just make you want to hold them and put them on a shelf and just look at them all Halloween season long. I just love them. Let's see, a few others. I'm not seeing them on NECA's website, but I'm sure if I checked Target and some other places, I'd find all of them. Oh, here they are. So there's another set that has Gremlins, both Mogwai and Gremlin, Gizmo and Stripe. along with the cartoon version of Beetlejuice. So, and then you've got some superhero stuff with some Batman, Superman, Batgirl, Joker, Wonder Woman, all those types of things. I don't know if I could see myself going down the rabbit hole on this line, but I could see myself adding one each year to put out with the Halloween decorations. They're just that cool. I don't know. What do you guys think of these figures? Okay, so the next set of items that I want to look at comes from the store Five Below, which I'm not usually the biggest fan of Five Below. It's kind of, sometimes it's just, really cheap. I'm not going to say junk, but, just kind of throw away like gift items a lot of times. I mean, you can find like good, fun retro candy in there and things like that, and sodas and stuff like that from time to time. But lately, over the past like 6 months or so, they've really been kind of killing it with their retro merchandise. There's been tons of like strawberry shortcake and rainbow bright stuff in there, which is random but really cool to see. Along with like Gremlins and some horror stuff, like lots of Chucky merchandise, which is cool. And they've got some cool things for Halloween this year. So the first thing that I noticed were these Care Bears bobbleheads in like Halloween characters. So there's like a Frankenstein version. Let's see. What else is there? Yeah, I like that Frankenstein one a lot. There's also like a creature looking, I don't know, it's green. I guess it's supposed to be like the creature from the Black Lagoon, kind of looks like. Yeah, these are kind of cool. I mean, they're not the best quality like sculpts or anything, but for $5, they might look kind of cool sitting on a shelf. So I wanted to mention those at least. What else from Five Below? They also had some Charlie Brown, Snoopy, It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown type merch. There were some figures I believe I saw last time I was there. Let's see. Yeah, so they've got these little Peanuts Halloween themed figurines for $3, looks like. There's one with Charlie Brown carrying a Halloween jack-o'-lantern pail, going trick-or-treating, dressed up as Frankenstein's monster. So, I don't know, kind of cool. I think there's also like a Lucy and a Snoopy. Just a couple little cool little items there from Five Below. There were a couple other things that I wanted to look at here. Bear with me. Let me just go to their Halloween section. Okay, so... Oh, that's right, okay. So I don't know if you consider Scooby-Doo to be Halloween themed, but there's lots of different cool little Scooby-Doo things this year. Again, little figurines, little statues that are, Scooby and Shaggy wearing pumpkin costumes or whatever. But what I'm most excited about were these slippers. These Scooby-Doo slippers, like house shoes for adults. Matter of fact, hang on just a second. There they are. Are those not ridiculous? Size 11, 12 adult Scooby-Doo slippers. I had to, I couldn't pass them up. They were just too cool. Okay, so I want to talk for just a few minutes about some of the fast food Halloween buckets that they're giving us this year. Of course, there are the McDonald's ones, but a couple other places have kind of gotten in on the game in recent years. Burger King and Dunkin' Donuts as well, along with some others. But they just recently released the designs for the McDonald's ones this year. And I'll put those up on the screen. I'm actually kind of excited because you've heard my little rant about, I don't like that they didn't put lids on them like we had on the vintage ones, but they were giving us these weird like wannabe lids. They were supposed to like represent the lid. They were shaped like it. They were the color of it. But they were these thin little plastic strips, and it wasn't working for me. Like, I get what they were trying to go for, but I don't know, it felt lacking to me in a way. These are kind of cool because they gave us like the golden arches, the McDonald's logo right there on the handle, which I think that's actually kind of cool. Not crazy about some of these designs. I'll be interested to see if they do different faces like they have been doing in the past, on the other sides of the buckets, because these are just okay. I like the colors. I think it's cool that they gave us a black cat version. We don't eat a lot of McDonald's. My son does like to get Happy Meals, you know, whenever he can. And he doesn't usually care to keep these, so I'm sure I'll have a few of these in the collection by the time it's all said and done this year. The only thing I don't like is they're not starting this till October 21st. Is that right? Come on, McDonald's, you got to get on it now. Like, people are ready for spooky season. Like, we're ready to start collecting these things. So get rid of the K-pop Happy Meal toys that you've been giving us, and move up the timeline on these buckets, because these are kind of cool. Let's see what Burger King's got going on though. I can't remember if theirs were licensed or if they were just kind of like generic Halloween designs. Let's see. Yeah, what I'm seeing is, I'll put it up here for you guys to see too, but it looks almost just like a black bucket with an orange handle. With just like some, you know, kind of retro, old-timey looking cartoon, I don't know, Halloween characters on them. They're kind of cool looking. Like, I like the artwork style. I wouldn't mind tracking one of these down. It's never going to scratch that nostalgic itch that the McDonald's ones do. But I might go for one of these and see what it looks like in hand. And if I do track one down, I'll show you guys on the channel. Maybe we'll make that like our today's time capsule one day as we'll go through the various buckets. And then let's see what Duncan's got going. Okay, so they're going for more of a black and purple color scheme here. And wow, these come with donut holes in them, munchkins. That's kind of cool. It reminds me a little bit of the Burger King design with the kind of old-timey cartoon character looking art designs, but not bad. I'll have to see what they look like in person, but not bad. I definitely appreciate the effort, and I think these companies are, again, realizing that those of us that grew up in the 80s and the 90s are now, you know, we like collecting this nostalgic stuff sometimes. So even though it's for our kids, sometimes it's the adults who wind up with these things in their possession, you know, me included. So let's keep going. All right, so the next thing that I'm kind of excited about, and I had seen these before in the non-Halloween versions, made by Super 7, who, you know, I can take or leave some of their products. Some of it's kind of hit or miss for me, but these Peanuts blind box figures that they've been doing, they look pretty cool. I've never actually held one in hand to see kind of how sturdy they feel, and that matters to me for some reason. If it feels like really flimsy and cheap, I don't tend to like it as much. But the designs look cool, and they did Halloween versions of them for It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, which is one of my favorite Halloween specials of all time. Pricing, and I know I didn't mention the pricing on the other figure. Those Ben Cooper NECAs I think are $22.99 each, something in that ballpark here in the United States. These look to be $15. I'm not crazy about the blind box setup. Like, I get it, but there's usually only like one or two designs out of the bunch that I'm interested in. I'd rather you just stick a window on it and let me know which one I'm gonna get. But I understand the whole model of the sales model of the product. I get it, but these are pretty cool. And it's a perfect segue actually into the next product, and that is something my wife had shown me back in August, I think, is that they were doing Peanuts, you know, Charlie Brown, Snoopy themed Reese's peanut butter cups. So they were going to put all our pals from the gang at Peanuts on the packaging, and let me pull that up too. And we've actually had a couple of these. We had a bag of these in the house, you know, last month sometime. You know, they're just Reese's peanut butter cups, which is a great Halloween candy. Which, by the way, I need to do a video on my favorite Halloween candies. I feel like we could talk a lot about that and share some opinions. Maybe a top 10 list, we'll see. But yeah, they've got really cool packaging. I'll pull up an image for you right there. Just something as simple as that, you know, it changes it up. And I think it's kind of cool. So Something that if I saw just a regular old bag of Reese's peanut butter cups on the shelf at Target or Walmart, I wouldn't be as excited to grab that and pick it up as I would if it had these cartoon characters on it. That's just the way I am. I guess I'm an easy target for this type of marketing, but it is what it is. I thought I'd share them really quick because I do think they're pretty cool. And for the last item that I want to talk about before we actually go over to the Ottoman and look at some stuff that I have in hand, I want to talk about something that I hope to have in hand here by the end of this month, hopefully. And you guys know that I love my sneakers. I've done several videos on the channel about shoes and retro sneakers and how I like to have those in the collection. Well, they are doing, Nike is doing a Stranger Things version of the Nike Dunk. And I don't usually like the Nike Dunk as a shoe model. I find them uncomfortable usually. I'm not crazy about a lot of the colors that they come in. I feel like they're everywhere. They're kind of ubiquitous at this point. But these Stranger Things ones, I'll show you here. These are awesome to me. These are right up my alley as far as an aesthetic goes. And you're probably thinking, dude, those just look like old worn out sneakers from the 80s. And I'm sitting here thinking, exactly. That's what I'm going for. And there are some cool details in here mixed in, like some upside down logos and some little Stranger Things nods and references that you can see when you look at them up close. But overall, and what I'm most excited about, is they just look like a genuine pair of old white leather sneakers from the 80s. Something that all of your favorite characters from all your favorite movies would have been wearing on their feet when they were riding their bikes around town or running from the bad guys or whatever the case may be. So I don't remember the exact release date on these. I'll have to look that up. But I'm going to be first in line to try to grab a pair of these. I just think they're so cool. We got the last season of Stranger Things coming up, so I know they're going to go full on with the marketing blitz and all the products and everything. But and there's been some cool ones, which we'll talk about a couple of those here in a minute when we go over to the Ottoman. But this is the one that I'm most excited about. Hopefully I can track a pair of these down. I don't know. What do you guys think of these? Would you wear these on your feet? I think they're great.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Ottoman. We're going to do a little show and tell of some of the various food products and beverage products that I've acquired over the past few weeks in preparation for the Halloween season celebration. And if you're going to do Halloween food products, we have to talk about cereal and cereal boxes. And you can't talk about Halloween cereal without talking about Count Chocula, right? And I'm sure you guys have probably seen this, most of you. But this year's boxes are like in tribute to Jim Henson. I just think they're really cool. So here we have Count Chocula. Let me give you a better view. Still wearing the slippers, by the way. Yeah, I think I grab a box of this every year just for the family and I to eat. We kind of eat it as dessert. It's definitely not breakfast for us like it was when we were kids. But we always get some Count Chocula, at least a couple of boxes per year. And sometimes I'll hang on to them. Like a few years ago, they did like the retro throwback. They almost looked pretty close to the ones from the 80s. And so I have a few of those flattened up in the attic. But I just thought these were so cool. Now, did they do commercials with these guys in them too? I need to look that up and see, because that would have been awesome if they actually did like Count Chocula and Frankenberry and Boo Berry commercials with these puppets. Celebrating 70 years. A monstrous legacy, Jim Henson Company. Look at that. What a cool box. The characters. You got Count Chocula right there alongside Grover and some of these other classic characters. That almost looked like My Pet Monster for a second. I know it's not, though. Yeah, just really cool. So these are still widely available. Family size or regular size or whatever you want, they're still out there. And I just figure for the Halloween season, gotta have some Count Chocula. And why not just continue with the other couple of cereal boxes that I have? You can't have Count Chocula and then not talk about Frankenberry.
And I'm doing these in the order that I prefer them. You know, so Count Chocula is my favorite. This is my second favorite. You know, the taste of these remind me of, you know, if you were just eating a bowl of Crunch Berries from Captain Crunch. You know, before you could buy the Captain Crunch with it where it's all berries like you can now. When I was a kid, I think I learned about, you know, delayed gratification really early in life, because I would eat all the yellow pieces of Captain Crunch and then have a bowl of just Crunch Berries left at the end. And then I would do something similar with these marshmallow cereals. You know, my Lucky Charms, my Count Chocula, whatever. I would eat all the regular cereal pieces. And it sounds kind of gross now, but then you have just a bunch of marshmallows left over. So, and I know you can buy bags of those by themselves too now, but that's not the same. But also, really cool artwork here. Just classic looking. I don't even remember if they did the exact same image on the back. Let's see, it looks like it. Pretty close. Maybe a couple little differences with the placement of things, but same idea. Very cool stuff. But yeah, like what I was saying is the flavor of Frankenberry reminds me of the flavor of Crunch Berries in the Captain Crunch cereal. So good stuff in small amounts, you know, moderation. Like I said, it's more of a dessert than a breakfast at this point. And last, and well, I guess least, we've got Boo Berry. And I know there were some others. Like I know there's at least one other that they added, but for some reason in my brain, I just remember when I was a kid these main three that I've shown you here. And I don't remember if they added the other ones before or after or what, but these were the main three that I have memories of, and that's why I collected these boxes. Really cool looking puppet there. Not as big a fan of the taste of Boo Berry, but you know, I'm pretty sure I liked it as a kid. There are certain tastes that we outgrow in life, unfortunately. Similar setup there with just some different placement, a little bit different color scheme, of course. Yeah, that rounds us out. Before we move on to the next thing, we pull all three boxes up here and we'll take a look at them. And there we are for this year's set. At least the three that I'm interested in. There we go. Really fun stuff there. I'm happy to have those. So for this next item, we're going to look at something from the beverage, the sugary beverage and drink category with some Kool-Aid. Except here we've got Ghoul-Aid, Zomberry flavored. Now, my kids drank these. I should have kept a pouch to do a taste test, because we are going to do a taste test here in a minute for one of these other products. But you know, I never cared for the Kool-Aid out of the pouch. You know what? Every once in a while when we were kids, we had the little boxed ones, I think. But for me, Kool-Aid was always take the little paper packet out of the pantry, rip it open, mix in way too much sugar into your plastic pitcher, stir it up with your spoon, and then pour it over some ice. And that's how Kool-Aid tastes in my memory. And it just tastes a little bit different when you do it like that yourself at home than drinking it out of a pouch. But either way, you cannot go wrong with the fun Kool-Aid Man art that they put on some of these packages. And they've done various versions of Ghoul-Aid over the years. I had another box up in the attic I should have gotten down where I think he was a vampire. But this is this year's limited edition. Let's just take a look at some of this. I mean, who doesn't want a brain floating in their Kool-Aid pitcher? Glow-in-the-dark pouch. Man, I should have kept one and done a taste test. Great for trick-or-treating. I don't know about that. Are you going to put a pouch of Kool-Aid in your pillowcase with all your other candy? Ghoul-Aid Zomberry. Anything else? Let's see. Pretty much the same. Oh, this is cool. Are these like Pogs? Amazing. Let's see. Flippin' cool. Oh, it's a matching game. Get help cutting out all 8 circles. Okay. I thought they were going to be Pogs, but it's still kind of cool that there's a game on the back of your Ghoul-Aid. Fun stuff. I'm a big fan. I have a lot of good memories of Kool-Aid. In fact, I've got a video queued up as a topic where I'm just going to talk about Kool-Aid and my memories of it, all the various flavors, the commercials, the merchandise, you know, the Kool-Aid points, all of it. So that'll be a future video for sure. But I had to share that. I just thought it looked so cool with the Kool-Aid, this year's Halloween version of Kool-Aid. Okay, so for this next one, we're going back to the grocery aisle that has all the snacks and cookies and crackers and things on it for some good old-fashioned Chips Ahoy. And when I say old-fashioned, when you see this packaging, it's going to definitely take you back, with the exception that it's got some Stranger Things branding on it, which is also cool. But what I was more excited about, honestly, was that they went back to the 80s style packaging for these Nabisco Chips Ahoy cookies. Yeah, the cookies are long gone. We took them out and put them in a jar or something and then tried to seal this back up so that I could try to preserve it, because I don't know when we'll see this packaging again, if ever. You know, I keep saying every year that they're going to give us Ecto Cooler again, but I rarely see it, and when they do bring it back, I never find it. So lesson learned, I hang on to this stuff. So yeah, whether you're a fan of Stranger Things or not, just check that out. Does that not bring back memories? 1980s throwback design. Same great taste. I love when they do stuff like this. And I'm not going to talk too much about Stranger Things. I said this last year and I didn't get around to it. I want to do a full-on tribute video to Stranger Things. And I'm not going to get into it too much today, but that show, when that came around, which it's been almost a decade now, which is crazy, it honestly reignited and sparked a lot of the nostalgia that had been gone from my life. Like, at that time, I was big time into Star Wars and superheroes and comics and all that kind of stuff. I still am into that stuff, but my collecting and my consumption of various movies and all kinds of shows has really steered more towards nostalgia since then. And Stranger Things honestly kind of kicked that off. If I can remember, I'll try to find some pictures of what my home office looked like before I moved back here into the den. I used to be up at the front of the house with just some bookshelves, and it was mostly Star Wars stuff at the time. Like I said, Star Wars and superheroes. And then along came Stranger Things and reignited my love for the 80s, and made me want to check out all the Stephen King I could get my hands on and go back and watch all the movies that they were paying tribute to. But yeah, like I said, I wasn't going to ramble about it, so I'm going to stop right there and save that for a future video. But needless to say, we're going to get a lot of Stranger Things products and product placement coming up with the show coming back for its last season. They did another version of the cookies that I wasn't as interested in. It was like, I don't know, they're like weird, like dark brown, almost black cookies with like some kind of red filling in them. I don't know. They didn't look appetizing at all, and the packaging was cool, but not nearly as cool as this guy. So that's it for food. I do have one more thing I want to show you. It's a soda, and we're going to do a taste test because I haven't opened them yet. I want to see what they taste like, so we're going to do that together here in just a minute. So any of you who have been around a little while, you know that I'm a huge fan of retro soda and vintage soda cans and packaging. It's one of the most nostalgic things that I can think of. It just takes me back in time every time I see something. I've got a little collection of vintage soda cans here in the den. In fact, most of them are in the walk-in toy box. I guess I could show you a couple really quick. I always try to remind myself that we have new people on the channel all the time, and they may not know that I like vintage soda cans, so why not show you a couple? There's a Cherry Coke back there, for example. There's a Barks Root Beer. There's a Slice. Crystal Pepsi. Vintage Coca-Cola, Mountain Dew. You got Tab up there. That's a recent addition. There's an A&W cream soda. Love that one. 7-Up with Cool Spot. Very cool. Cherry 7-Up, one of my favorites. There's a knee-high grape back there. And, you know, just some Pepsi and other random various sodas all throughout the collection. I've got a few more out here on the shelves. I'll show you another time, but you get the idea. Sorry about that, I bumped the camera. I love that stuff. And so anytime they do a retro re-release of a soda can, I grab those up. I did a whole video on the Diet Cherry Coke that came out in the 80s cans a couple months back, if you want to check that out. But we're talking about Halloween themed stuff today. And to me, Child's Play and Chucky, they fit that is Halloween. You know, it's a great movie series to watch, a franchise to watch around this time of year. And Fanta gave us Chucky's Punch. Like I said, I haven't opened this yet to even see what the cans look like, but how cool, honestly, how cool is that box art? Let's see if we can get a better look at it here. I guess this is in promotion of the most recent movie, which is fine. But I see Chucky, I always think of the original few, you know, from back in our childhood. So, let's see. I'm going to open this up and take out a can and show you what that looks like. And then we're going to do a taste test and see if it's any good. So, I'll be right back with you. Okay, I got it open with keeping most of the packaging intact as best I could. Let's see what the can looks like. Okay. You know, very similar to the box. I almost wish we could have gotten a little bit different design for Chucky, but that's all right. Still really cool. I like the stripes. That makes sense for him. Looking awfully sinister there. Yeah, pretty cool can. You know, we'll drink these and I'll save a couple of them. You know, in 20 years, I'll look back at it and be like, hey, I remember when I got these. So, yeah, let's see. Let me open it up. See what it tastes like. Is it just going to be Fanta Fruit Punch? Like, is that all they're going to give us, or is there anything different? It doesn't say anything on the can or the box, but let's see. I'll try it and let you know. Okay, so it's definitely not just Fanta Fruit Punch. Like, it doesn't just taste like tropical punch. I mean, that's mostly what I'm getting, but there's something else going on here too. Like, I don't know, it's a little bit more citrusy. It's got like a slight, like, almost like sour, almost slightly bitter. So it's not quite as sweet as what you're probably thinking it might be. It's not bad. You know, have you ever had, like, there was an old soda that you can still find it in certain parts of the country called Tahitian Treat. I'll put a picture up because I actually really like Tahitian Treat. It's a great summer, like, tropical tasting soda. And that's what this is like. It almost tastes like that, but just a little bit less sweet. Tahitian Treat is very sweet, and this is, you know, they dialed down the sweetness and added just a little bit of sour / bitter to this. But let's be honest, we're just here for Chucky and the can. We're not too worried about the taste of the soda. It tastes like sugary, you know, fruity soda, so it's about what you'd expect. But yeah, very, very cool. I'm happy that they did it. I hope they do more stuff like this going forward, because I think this stuff is just awesome. And there we are. So I hope that you all enjoyed our little Halloween hangout here in the den today. And if you did, consider subscribing if you're new around here. Also, don't forget to like the video, but only if you actually liked the video. But for now, and as always, relax. Enjoy life and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.